Time.
Thank you.
My next witness slip is for a Reverend Marian Stewart. Thank you for being here, Reverend.
Thank you. Chairman Burke and Senator Tavis and all committee members. HB 258, outlawing abortions after 6 weeks, is anything but pro-life. This bill is a ban that sends doctors and medical professionals to jail. It makes no exceptions for rape, incest, and provides inadequate protections for the health of the mother. It strips women of their rights to control their own bodies. It is designed to keep women and children in poverty. It is not pro-life. This bill does nothing to acknowledge that women do not get pregnant by themselves. It does nothing to protect women from the men who rape their bodies. It does nothing to save the life of a mother at risk of dying. This bill verges on idolizing the unborn. It does nothing to support the life of a baby once it takes its first breath. When I was young, my mother taught me that unless I could take care of what I already have, then I could have no more. That is good advice in all sorts of ways, but in this case, our leaders need to figure out how to end poverty, solve drug addiction, reduce crime, and fully support public education. Most importantly, enact green solutions so that we can all have a future on this earth, including the yet-to-be-born. My faith as a Unitarian Universalist calls upon me to respect the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It does not call on me to respect just some people. It calls on me to respect all people, including women, children, and men who care. This bill does not do that. It singles out women and their health care providers as a group to be punished. It calls out women to be second-class citizens with no rights to decide what is best for them. It says that only those who have the power to get women pregnant have real power. This bill says women don't matter. This bill might as well be called the coat hanger bill. History tells us that abortion will not go away. There are many stories I could tell, but this bill will force women into back alleys and risky do-it-yourself abortions. Today, our real choice, our only choice, is whether or not abortion is safe. If we do not protect the rights to health care, including reproductive health care for women, then we all lose. Why bring more life into this world when only certain lives are actually respected and supported? If all life has inherent worth and dignity, then we best get working on that ideal rather than seeing how fast we can erode respect for the life we already have. I have a religious voice. I am pro all life, including the living. And that includes women and our right to make our own health care decisions. Thank you. I'll be happy to take questions if you have any.
Thank you for your testimony, Reverend. Any questions of the gentle lady? Senator Lehner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the witness. Since 1973, when the Supreme Court Roe versus Wade decision was handed down, poverty has deepened in this nation considerably. Child abuse has increased considerably. Lack of respect for human life has risen considerably. And yet you're saying this bill is going to have a negative impact on all of those things? I'm not following the logic there, because under equal access to abortion that you support, all of these things that you claim this bill's going to cause have actually gotten much worse. So.
Yes, and they will continue to get much worse if we limit the right to health care to women who need to make a choice about their lives. Women who cannot afford to support themselves, much less a child, and find themselves pregnant, if they have no choice, it just drives them further into poverty instead of being able to help them actually earn a living and have children when it's more appropriate for them.
Follow up, please. As these things have increased since women have been given the right to choose, I'm not following. I mean, one could argue that there's a cause and effect of removing protection for a huge segment of our population. We have seen poverty increase, violence increase, disrespect for human life increase, and you're arguing that going back to where we were before is going to increase those things? I don't understand the logic.
I will tell you that abortions will always happen. They always have, and they always will. Our choice is to make them safe or not. Poverty is a very complex issue. This is one component of it, but I would argue that there are many components about poverty in this country. Poverty, education, healthcare access, all sorts of things. It's very complex. But if you remove the right for women to make choices for themselves, it keeps even more women into poverty, especially children who are born in situations where that could have been avoided until later when the mother, the parents could actually afford to raise the child.
I would agree, complexity. Poverty is very complex.
It is. Anyone else?
Senator Tavares.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the witness, thank you for coming in and testifying. Getting back to the issue of poverty, it is very complex, and we can't assume that abortions or not are going to solve the poverty program. But we do know that the overwhelming majority of the women who are single parents, which is generally the case in America today versus what it was 40 years ago, dooms that mother and her children to poverty. 72% of African American families' children are growing up in single-parent households, disproportionately poor. So to say that we are taking care of the children who are born and their mothers is the furthest thing from the truth. It's not cause and effect because a woman chooses to have an abortion or not, but what we do know is those women who have children, a child, 2-point-plus children, which is average, are living in poverty, and that is growing because single heads of households are growing in America amongst all populations. The Caucasian population, about 30+%, Latino population, about 40+%, African American, about 70+%. So that's where the poverty comes in. But there's so many other issues that impact poverty in America, including the disparities in education, in jobs, in housing. No matter what it is, you have disparities amongst racial and ethnic populations. So I just want to make that point because it is not due to abortions or not having an abortion. It is single heads of household, hence the reason I established the Family Stability Commission so that we can take a look at all of the issues and the policies we're passing that are impacting the poverty in the state of Ohio. So thank you for your comments. And I know that the Unitarian Universalist Church has been a leading voice on issues of poverty and social justice. So I thank you.
Thank you. I do know that if we would actually address poverty and lifting all people up so that they could work one job, not two or three, and also give them a voice at the table, if we actually spend our resources on that, then it would naturally reduce the need for abortion, of which poverty is a part.
Senator Hottinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the Reverend for being here and for your testimony. Pastor, just a couple of things. First, do you believe that there should be any government restrictions at all when it comes to a woman's ability to have an abortion?
I believe the government should step in and make sure abortions are safe, that women have equal access to full reproductive health care. That is the role of government, to make sure that our doctors are certified, our medical professionals are trained, but women get to make their choices. Women are full human beings.
Mr. Chairman, when then do you believe that a child becomes a full human being?
Not only the heartbeat, but when it takes its first breath.
Okay.
Because without either, you are not.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, to the witness, do you believe then that a woman should have the right to have an abortion up to 1 minute before a child has natural birth?
No.
Okay, no. Do you believe that a woman should have the ability to have an abortion 1 hour before natural birth?
I don't think that this is actually what's being debated today. We're debating a 6-week heartbeat bill, and a lot of this has to do also with the health of the mother. There are many cases where a pregnancy actually risks the mother dying, and we need to have full access so that doctors and medical professionals can care for the mother too, because that life is here.
Pastor, thank you for your answer. I think actually my questions are really spot on, because I believe even you have just agreed that you don't believe that a woman should have an abortion 1 minute or 1 hour prior to. And I believe that what we have before us, and all of us draw this line of when do we believe that life begins. That's what the abortion debate always centers around. And so you talk about in your testimony about the inherent worth of all life. Mm-hmm. And so for an individual that believes that life begins at conception, we believe that there's that inherent worth to that child. And so all of us draw the line someplace of where we believe that a woman should be restricted on her ability to choose an abortion. Very few people that I ever run into say, yes, that a woman should have an abortion 1 minute before, or 1 hour before, or 1 day before, or 1 week before. But my point is that we all draw that line someplace. And for many individuals who believe that life does have inherent worth, and we believe that life begins at conception, I think that's the heart of every abortion bill, and the heart of all discussion around, this important life and death issue.
So I would say that those healthcare decisions are between a woman and her medical provider, and it's not for me or you to stand here today and make laws that outlaw that conversation. That's a private conversation. It's a healthcare matter, and that's between the woman and her provider. What I would ask in return is, if you value all life at conception, whether it be rape, incest, or however a woman gets pregnant, I would ask, does this Ohio State body, elected body, actually support the child once it's born? Do we actually have no poverty in this state? Do we fully fund education? Do we have no single parents? Do we have no parents struggling to pay for childcare? Do we actually enact clean air so that we can all survive? Until we look at a comprehensive package of how we support life, I think it's unfair to single out women to bear the burden for this.
Mr. Chairman, just one final comment, and I think you bring up some great points that I think are inherent upon pro-life legislators, that pro-life should mean not just through the 3 trimesters or the 9 months that a baby is in a womb, but to truly be pro-life means that you include many of those provisions that you have just spoke about. But we can't address all of those issues, and certainly not giving those children a chance at life if we're snuffing out their life prematurely before they're born.
Okay, one response to that is, if women are in the position to make this choice, regardless, of the stage of the pregnancy, where are the men? Why are the fathers not being punished as well with equal responsibility? This is a bill that is against women, and it supports poverty for women and children. It keeps the cycle going.
Any additional questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony,
you.
Reverend.